this evening for our inaugural Argyros happy hour. The Argyros closed, regrettably, 2 months ago to the day on March 14th. And while this is, of course, not our reopening, it is a reemergence of sorts. And I could not be more pleased and more excited and more honored than I am right now to welcome our very good friend and our very special friend, ABT principal dancer Isabella Boylston, coming to us from her home in Brooklyn, New York. Hi, Bella.
Hi.
How are you
Cheers.
doing?
I've got my Aperol Spritz.
Cheers. Here we go. Chin chin.
Cheers. I hope you guys have something good to drink, if not an Aperol Spritz. This is delicious.
Well, I myself have an Aperol Spritz at your recommendation. It's in fact the first time I've ever had an Aperol Spritz, so I'm taking my maiden Aperol Spritz voyage with you and with our friends who are joining us tonight. So first impressions.
Yeah, let me know. What's the verdict?
Oh, that's quite punchy. I see why they call it an all-day cocktail. So my first question for you, Bella, and well, first, of course, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us, for joining us. We love you. I say it every time you're here, but you are a hometown hero. And we're so happy every time that you join us, whether it's in our theater or virtually via Zoom. And this is the first Argyros happy hour. I, of course, wanted you to be our first guest. And the question on everyone's mind is, why an Aperol Spritz? Why is this your go-to cocktail for happy hours?
Well, I don't know. I think I probably first had an Aperol Spritz when I was in Europe, actually. I was performing in Paris and it was summer, and I would notice this bright orange red drink that everyone was drinking in cafes, and I was like, that looks very refreshing. I'd like to try that. And ever since then, it's been one of my favorite summer cocktails. So
Well, it's delightful, and thank you for turning me on to the charms of the Aperol Spritz.
definitely bring Paris to Idaho. Why not?
Paris to Idaho, there is a Sun Valley Paris axis, believe it or not. So, is there anything special about the Aperol Spritz, the way that you make it? Any sort of special tips you have for people?
I don't know. Mine is very heavy on the Prosecco. So it's not a lot of Aperol. And I don't, some people put soda in there. I don't do that. I just
Okay.
Prosecco, a dash of Aperol, and then an orange twist or a lemon twist.
Nice little handsome garnish.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we're here tonight under pretty unusual circumstances. And I think, I've had the pleasure of talking to you a few times the last few weeks, and, it's been great to hear from you and know how you're doing. But I know everyone who's dialed in tonight, probably the first question on their mind, and the first question they would want me to ask you is, how are you doing? How are you and Daniel doing hunkered down in New York in your apartment?
We're doing okay. Ups and downs. Obviously, it was extremely disappointing when the season was canceled, just because we were gearing up for our Met season, which is our big 8-week season at Lincoln Center, and we had a few tours leading up to that. We were supposed to go to Abu Dhabi and Chicago and Detroit, and then one by one the tours started to get canceled, and then it was like, okay, the studios are going to be closing for 2 weeks, and 2 weeks quickly turned into no season. And it is like a very special time for all of us at ABT. Our Met season at Lincoln Center, it's like our playoff season or our Olympics. So we work really hard for it, and we're all really heartbroken that we can't be there. But at the same time, I can't complain. I love my apartment. Dan still has a job, so we're very fortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm happy to hear that. I'm sure everyone else is happy to hear that. And while ABT's season has of course sadly been canceled, I was fortunate enough 2 nights ago to view your Together Tonight. Is that what it was called? Together Tonight, which was
Yeah.
kind of the online replacement for your scheduled spring gala. And
Mhm.
I want to say first, I probably watched a dozen of these things, online concerts and online galas by now, largely out of kind of professional curiosity. And I really think this one was hands down the best one I've seen so far. It was really beautiful. It was very well thought out. It wasn't, there's a lot of conversation right now about, how do we as artists and as arts providers reimagine ourselves and our services in this new world. And some of it is kind of obviously just being shoehorned, and what I really appreciated about Together Tonight, it was a very thoughtful piece of artistry, that celebrated dance and celebrated ABT and all of the individual dancers. So kudos to you and the rest of the team at ABT for pulling that off. And while it's unfortunately not available online anymore, it hasn't been archived, there's all sorts of great footage, ABT footage on their YouTube channel. And there are still opportunities to support ABT through their auction, which they're currently conducting online through the end of this month. So check it out. There's some special Isabella Boylston themed prizes that you can win, auction items that you can sign up for. So congrats on that. And what was it like making that? What was it like making it? And then what was it like watching it?
It was very pieced together. Luckily we had this amazing production company who kind of pulled it all together. And I mean, honestly, ABT hasn't been the most like tech savvy company. Just ballet is slow to change. And I feel like we're slowly moving forward to catch up with, all the jumps that technology's made in the past like 10 years. But I think, we're just trying to find ways, since ABT doesn't have a ton of performance footage that we own, sadly and surprisingly, just there are a lot of hurdles there with union expenses, like theaters. It just becomes incredibly expensive to actually film our shows. And so we're just trying to find creative ways to have exclusive content. And I think going forwards after this, ABT will probably be prioritizing having like a reserve of performance footage to screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if the library that you have is limited, it's extremely high quality, because I thought the archival footage and photography that was incorporated throughout was pretty stunning. So whoever your media shop is or the production company, they certainly did do a great job.
Thank you so much. I'll pass that on.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and there were a number of highlights watching it, and you were featured quite prominently, not surprisingly, given your stature within the organization. James Whiteside, who's also been a friend of the Argyros, sort of emceed the evening, which was quite fun. And our other friend here, Calvin Royal, also made several prominent appearances. And for me, maybe the most stirring moment of the whole program was when Calvin. I don't know if it was extemporaneous or scripted or what, but he said something like, this moment is forcing all of us as artists to rethink what our responsibilities to our audiences are. And I just thought that was such a sage observation. And I think we're all asking ourselves that. So what do you think? What do you think? How are you recalibrating, reevaluating whatever relationship you have with your audiences, what that responsibility entails? How are you thinking about those things right now?
You know what? I don't know. Perhaps I haven't been as I love that Calvin said that. Calvin is just one of my favorite people ever. Such a beautiful, thoughtful person and artist. But I feel like so basically James Whiteside and I we were basically just doing these ballet classes together. It was before they had issued the shelter in home warning. And so we were giving each other class in my kitchen. And then we were like, let's try and just do like a live stream on Instagram Live. And so we were teaching class and we live streamed it. And I think like between 15,000 and 20,000 people took our class on Instagram. And we were that's like 4 or 5 times the capacity of our biggest theater. So it gave us the idea, like, just think we should try to galvanize all of these people for good. And so James and I have been teaching class on Instagram Live Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the past 8 or 9 weeks. And we've been asking for voluntary donations to charities every day. So it's been really cool. Like, I don't know, we just ask people to think of it as if you go to, there are places in New York City you can go to take open class, like Steps, for example. Steps on Broadway. A lot of dancers go there. You pay like $15 and you take a class. So we're like, think of this as an online Steps. And if if you're able to, please make a donation to a charity. And I don't know, it's not only helped me to stay in shape, but it's just helped me to feel connected to my dance community, which is such an incredible, unique, supportive and connected community.
Is the quarantine 15 prohibited if you're a professional dancer?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll all be back to work, sooner than later. And so you're obviously a dancer, of the highest caliber, at the absolute pinnacle of your field.
Mm-hmm.
And, in addition to thinking about your relationship with your audience differently, I wonder how you must think about your artistry differently at this time. I mean, dancers, your medium is body and space, the human body and physical space. And I think the human body and relational space are things that we're all thinking about sort of differently now. Do you find yourself as a dancer approaching, as a lifelong dancer, since you could walk basically, approaching this emergency in a perhaps different, unique mindset? And do you also find it changing how you think about your craft and your artistry?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's because ballet, obviously the social distancing thing isn't terribly compatible with ballet. First of all, dancers have a ton of physical contact. There are so many people that are confined in a small space just to produce a performance. And then on top of that, you have the gathering of thousands of people in the audience. So in that way, I think it's going to be challenging for a while, unfortunately. But I think what's going to happen is dancers are going to use their creativity to think of ways that we can be sharing our art form that doesn't require like a ton of space or doesn't require like a lot of physical contact. So I think the art form will change. And I think also each of us as individual artists will continue to evolve throughout this time, just in a different way.
Yeah. So we've started getting our Q&A feed populated now. There's some really fun and interesting questions here.
Cool.
I'm not sure if the questioners have approved me ascribing their names to the question, so I'll just leave that off for now. But I've enjoyed your backdrop. Could you take us on a tour of the photos on your wall?
The photos, sure. You want a little tour? Okay. So here we go. All right. Well, this one's a favorite. I don't know if you can really see. There's a bit of a glare. There, you can kind of see. Yeah. That's like the one photo of myself that I've allowed on the wall. I'm really small, you can't really tell, but I'm wearing my wedding dress crossing 10th Avenue. It's by that photographer. It's the Instagram account Ballerina Project. He takes beautiful photos of dancers around New York City. And then let's see, what else is cool? Oh, this one's cool. I don't know if the Drackets are on tonight, but this is actually a gift from the Drackets. Martine Dracket painted that Harlequin for me. This painting of Brooklyn we got at a local store. Ooh, you guys will appreciate this. I don't know if you recognize that mountain range, but that's from the Sawtooth Mountains in Stanley. Mm-hmm. And then this is a painting from one of Dan's uncles in Korea, who's a really talented artist.
Yeah.
There's some quick highlights.
Well, it's a beautiful apartment. And
thank you.
Oh man, the questions just keep on coming. This is great. Sam and I are doing this for the first time, so we were a little nervous thinking that maybe none of this was going to work. We did get some questions in advance as well, and I like this one a lot. So Isabella, thank you for reconnecting with your hometown in this virtual cocktail hour. You're a star at the pinnacle of a very demanding artistic and athletic profession. Aside from the incredibly rigorous training that's required, what's the most challenging aspect of being principal dancer at ABT?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like, I don't know, I think two things. The first thing is probably just dealing with injuries and like a lot of physical pain. Oh, Dan, come say hi. You have to come say hi, sorry. Dan's trudging through the apartment with his skateboard. I think he's gonna go out on a little.
How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, it's great to see you.
You too.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
This is my Corona haircut, which I want to get.
I actually ordered a set of hair clippers off Amazon about a month ago. It still hasn't arrived.
Yeah, I did that too, and I asked Isabella to try and help me out with a small trim, and she was laughing so hard after she would make huge cuts and chunks out of my head that that ended pretty quickly.
Well, I think it's a good look for you, Dan. It's got a kind of a like a late Beatles sort of feel.
Little Bieber-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin Bieber.
Well, have a good night. Enjoy cocktail hour. Bye.
Sorry, what question was I answering? That's the hardest things about ballet. Definitely like the injury aspect, just like pushing through a lot of physical pain, honestly. And it's not unique to me. It's like literally every principal dancer, every dancer that I know in ABT is usually working through some amount of physical pain, just like any professional athlete.
Yeah.
And I would say the other thing is just like the pressure, even though perhaps to some degree the pressure is self-imposed, just like of me always wanting to do really well, and you can have a great show, but then that's over. It's like the feeling that you're only as good as your last performance, so you have to just keep trying to elevate yourself and keep like reinventing yourself so you never get stuck or like pigeonholed. So I would say those are probably the two most challenging aspects.
Is there any film that you've seen, either narrative film or documentary film, that you think really captures the rigors of becoming a professional dancer, accurately?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I mean, I do really like Center Stage, even though it's the 20th anniversary of Center Stage. And I mean, it's a little bit embellished, but overall, I do feel like that's a fairly good depiction. And they also got incredible dancers to do the actor parts.
Saldana?
Yeah, Zoe Saldana's in it. I think she didn't really do much of the dancing, but I love that movie. Another one that I would recommend that's really interesting, and it might be kind of hard to find because it's so old, is called The Children of Theater Street, and it's a documentary that's narrated by, my emails, that's narrated by Grace Kelly, and it's it basically goes behind the scenes at the Vaganova Academy in St. Petersburg in Soviet Russia. It must have come out in like maybe the 70s. But I really love that one, The Children of Theater Street.
So this is a tough one. What's the general mood amongst the New York City family of artists right now? How is everyone holding up?
I think it depends a lot. I think this is a more difficult time for freelance artists, and perhaps artists who are like just on the brink of making it. I feel like in a way I'm very lucky because I feel established as an artist, and also I have the security of ABT, as secure as anything can be at this point. But I think it's more challenging for artists who are kind of on their own. They don't have a company to support them, and or maybe like I have close friends in ABT who were going to have like a breakthrough season this year. And then they're missing out on all these debuts. So
there was a heartbreaking piece in the LA Times today profiling a bunch of people, senior class members of the nation's elite arts academies, high schools and colleges, and how, I mean, obviously this is a really horrible time to be coming out of school for anyone, but for artists, young artists who have spent years, maybe decades, a decade plus, dreaming about, you know, getting a spot with, you know, the ABT Studio Company or something like that, and they're coming out in this environment where the arts are just in such a defensive crouch at the moment. And yeah, I mean, my heart really goes out to all these people. And so
yeah, it's really tough, I have to say. I mean, unfortunately, I just feel like, I don't know, it's easy to just underestimate the importance of the arts in the world, in this country in particular, because we don't get a lot of government funding. But it's, I don't know. I was reading, I don't know the quotes, but I was reading a speech by John F. Kennedy about the importance of the arts, and it just like was so inspiring and beautiful. And I think, I don't know, the arts are going to get us through one way or another.
I totally agree. I saw that quote recently. And I think, I don't remember it. I think it's a very famous quote, and it's probably been kind of circulating lately. You know, I encourage anyone who's curious, just Google John F. Kennedy arts quote, and it'll probably come up. Because he really does, for a guy who's a statesman and a politician, not an artist, right? He really does capture the essence of what's so important about them to a healthy society. And that's been, I think, for a lot of artists and arts providers, that has been one of the challenges of this time, is there's this kind of ongoing dialogue around essentialism and what is essential. You know, we've all become familiar, or at least more familiar, with the phrase essential work and essential services. And for artists who, you know, are not doctors and nurses or grocery store workers or mailmen, you know, we're in a very different environment than we're used to being in and used to thriving in. So, you know, how has that been for you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's so funny. I was just thinking about this as you were talking. Just like, I feel like dance is such a healing art form. Like, I was walking every day. I like take a walk in Brooklyn because it's like my one chance to escape the apartment. And I was walking by a hospital, and it was 7 o'clock, and every night at 7, there are like, everyone opens their windows and people are cheering and screaming and like banging pots and pans as a salute to the healthcare workers and the essential workers. And I walked by the hospital, and a bunch of the nurses had come out, and they were all like dancing in their scrubs to the song "How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You" in response to the 7 o'clock salute. But even just that, like, dance is such an expression of joy, and I think just something we need more than ever right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, you know, I think the fact that so much art is taking place in an environment where it's so hard to make art and so hard to share it is itself a testament to its essentialism. You know, whether or not it's deemed essential by society in one set of circumstances or another, it's pretty clear, I think, to everyone that it's essential to the human spirit and to healthy society. So, you know, all of us here are thinking about you and all of our friends in New York. This is one that we got earlier, and it comes straight from the Proust questionnaire, which I love. If you hadn't become a ballet dancer, what other career or life path might you have pursued?
Oh, this one is so hard to answer. I mean, it's always fun to think about. I think, I don't know, I love performing so much, and it's hard to imagine me doing a job that didn't involve performing in some way. But I'm definitely not a talented singer, so that's out. I don't know. When I was a kid, probably science was one of my favorite subjects.
Do you want to tell people about the group STEM for Dance that you're involved with?
Oh yeah, sure. So STEM from Dance is this amazing charity. It's based in Brooklyn, actually, close to where I live. And basically it was founded by a woman who danced her whole life, and she went to MIT, and she was like one of the only women of color in her program. And she was just trying to think, like, how can I get girls like interested in STEM, especially like minorities. And she was like, well, everyone likes to dance. So basically she uses dance. She teaches the kids like dance routines, and then they have to code their own tech elements into the performance. So they learn how to code so they can engineer lights and like do all these cool tech things as part of the show. It's really awesome. Anyways, little tangent, fun tangent, but check them out if you're interested. STEM from dance.
Yeah, we talked about them the last time you were here, and you know, they looked into trying to do some sort of collaborative thing with them here at the Argyros, but the pieces just didn't quite fall together. Maybe next time that you're here. So this is a fun question that I think everyone is asking each other right now. What's on your playlist? What's on your COVID playlist for TV shows, books, albums, movies?
Okay. Well, Dan and I, let's see, what have we watched? We watched a lot. We watched this Formula One racing show called Drive to Survive on Netflix. That was actually really fun. I never thought I'd be interested in Formula One, but I like that. We watched The Tiger King. So like insane. Right now I'm watching.
Nick Cage has just signed on to play the Tiger King in a film adaptation.
Of course, he had to play the Tiger King. I mean, that's excellent casting.
It had to be either him or Daniel Day-Lewis, right? It couldn't be anyone else.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right now I'm watching Succession, which is awesome.
Love that show. Yeah.
Yeah. And a book recommendation, I just finished a book called If I Had Your Face, which is awesome. My friend wrote it actually. And it's about 4 women in Seoul in Korea. And it's an amazing story of friendship and very entertaining. Yeah, that's my playlist.
So here's another question that just came in. I won't say who it's from, but I know that they're on our board. And I'm glad that they're asking and not me. Are you planning to come back to the Argyros?
Absolutely. You heard it here first.
All right. Well, we are thrilled to welcome you back whenever that might be. It may be this year. You know, we've talked about that. It could be this winter. So that'd be really wonderful. And
I'm so ready for that. If it works out, I'll be there.
Great. Well, we'll have to talk offline about that. But of course, it's something we'd love to do, and we look forward to doing sooner or later. You know, whether it's this year or next year or some other time, we will of course have you back here, and we look forward to that. So I think we've had a pretty good time with you, and
yeah.
I want to quickly just acknowledge everyone else who's here in the room out of frame that you guys can see in front of me and behind me. The team here: Alex Lilly, Nick Harmon, Mike Hoover, Margaret Hamamoto. Sam, who am I missing? I'm missing someone, Bella. Oh, it's you. It's the birthday boy.
Oh, is it Sam?
Sam Molnar, the birthday boy, who we promised we would sing happy birthday for. So we're going to sing happy birthday for Sam, and all of you at home, please sing along with us. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sam. Happy birthday to you.
Woo! Oh my God. Where's Rosie and Kenton when you need them?
Absolutely. Gosh, they would have knocked that out of the park much more than you or I. Well, much more than myself, certainly. Sam Molnar, as you all know, is our talented and brilliant production manager and technical director here. He essentially produced this Zoom. Oh, there it is. Mike, you missed your cue, but there's Sam's birthday cake.
Oh, nice. Make a good wish.
All right. Make a wish, Sam. Yay. And Sam, along with the other very talented production staff here, have very quickly transformed the Argyros from a beautiful live arts performing arts center into this streaming studio that allows us to do this. So thanks, Sam, you're the best. And Bella, thank you.
Thank you, and everyone, thank you so much who tuned in. I'm really crossing my fingers that I'll be able to get out to Ketchum this summer. So Dan and I have that on our dream bucket list for this summer.
Well, we certainly hope that you'll be here this summer as well. We hope we can welcome you back to the Argyros on stage very soon. And as always, it's a pleasure to spend time with you, whether in person or online. You are a native daughter of the Wood River Valley and a hometown hero, and we love you. So
thank you. Love you guys. Cheers. Thanks for having me. Cheers, everybody. All right. Stay safe.
Yes, thanks, Bella. We've got 2 more of these coming up, one next week with the wonderful guys from Time for 3, and the following week, May 28th, with Rick Miller, one-man sensation, writer, director, star, singer, musician, songwriter of Boom, which played to standing ovations here last summer. So we look forward to talking with our friends in the coming weeks. Thank you again for joining us this evening. This was the first Argyros Happy Hour. We hope you enjoyed a cocktail, and we look forward to seeing you again. Everyone, take care. Thank you so much.